coming all this way, or if you ain't come that far, thanks for coming a real distance. Hello, it's beginning to scar my retina. It's just my retinas, I'm worried about my retinas. Don't think I'm being truculent, it's impairing my ability to see things. Thanks for coming here for this book signing. Gosh, I've got to sign books for everyone. I will do it. No one will go home without a book signed. I'm even prepared to sign the works of Richard Dawkins and Charles Dickens. Alright. Well, what do I do? I suppose we've got a lot of options. I can just chat to you about things that occur in the moment. Here, what, Dan? Shut that fucking mob up with a nation. I can still hear them piping up. It's a lot of, embrace would tell her. It is constrictive and controlling and painful, like all love should be. In later life, I've come to realise that any expression of love which ends in a yelp probably requires modification. Sometimes when you are like cuddling a dog, or even that little girl there, she's so cute, and you will go, oh God, you're so cute, I love you, and then you sort of cuddle it, but then you want to cuddle it a bit too hard. Cuddle things a bit too hard. Oh, you're such a lovely little dog. When it makes that noise, that is the universe saying the cuddle must now end. Do not cuddle beyond the yelp, unless the victim of the cuddle is able to verbally insist that they enjoy it. If someone goes, well, actually, I quite like this, carry on. Notice they're saying it over their shoulder. You can imagine for yourself what the source of the yelp might have been. Use your imagination to do that. That's why God gave you one. Thanks. Was you cheering sodomy or the imagination? The two of them in conglomeration can create wonderful evenings. When we first got Topsy, she will be allowed to sleep in the bed with me. I hope it is not necessary for me to stress the platonic nature of that relationship. Not platonic in the purest sense, there was no philosophical discourse, but we certainly didn't fuck. Which is usually what people mean by platonic. Which, I bet, would really piss Plato off. But for all his thinking and chatting, his name has become an adjective for describing sexless trysts. And it would, wouldn't it? Plato, he was really clever, and if you go, it's a platonic relationship, you just think, we're not having it off. That's like Plato, he was a clever old stick, and he would have been right round off. But who am I to pontificate on the thinking of Plato? I'm me, and I shall do it. When Colin, my loathed stepfather, God bless him, just a person trying to get through life, when Colin came, an absurd edict was introduced whereby Topsy was no longer allowed upstairs. I evidently had a lot of anger and hate in me about this because I would perch at the top of the stairs and lure her to come up. Topsy! 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 Like that, or enthusiastic, as if there was never any problems in the world. Then, when she would slink nervously upward to the forbidden terrain of the upper floor, I would suddenly become Mr. Hyde. Oh dear, Topsy. I would declaim in rather an arch manner. Obviously, when writing the book, I didn't know that at some point I would have done the arch manner through my interpretive reading. I'd already delivered arch by virtue of the performance, thus making the next sentence, in which I told you that it was arch, redundant. But you will forgive the tautology, as otherwise, there'd have been no sentence in the book, and it would have been a less good book, which would have made you feel swindled. Topsy! Oh dear, Topsy, I would declaim in rather an arch manner. You know perfectly well you're not allowed upstairs. I was rather arch as a 7-year-old boy. After I'd made this arch declaration, I would cruelly kick her back down the stairs to the bottom again, where I would rejoin her and give her a sympathetic cuddle, regretfully muttering, "Oh Christ, was you kicked down the stairs? This is terrible." That's quite fucked up, isn't it? My mate Matt Morgan says, yes, Topsy must have thought she lived in a house with twins. An evil one who lived on the landing and a good one who dwelt downstairs. I feel very guilty about this conduct and try to offer amends by treating animals with respect at all times. In fact, while writing this, and this is true, to remember it fucking happening, a gnat, or mosquito in your language, which has been biting me all evening, rested momentarily on my keyboard, and though I'm quite cross about its blood-sucking, I gently requested that it dine on me no further rather than dashing out its wicked brain onto the spacebar. It ignored my attempts at a civil solution, suggesting that perhaps our leaders are right, that you can't negotiate with terrorists or mosquitoes. This is not an endorsement of a needless and unnecessary war, however. Although, you know, I know that none of us are involved in that war, and I'm not seeking to get into politics, as I'm simply a man selling a book quietly on a desk. Yes, that ends that part.